Skin in the Game. Ever since I read Skin in the Game by Nassim Taleb, the way I look at advice, decisions, and even people has completely changed. Now, whenever someone gives me advice, my first question, often unspoken, is, do you have skin in the game? If they don't, I don't listen. This book made me start noticing who truly takes risks, who's really accountable for their choices, and who just talks big while leaving others to deal with the fallout. Once you start seeing the world this way, you can't unsay it. Skin in the game isn't just a concept, it's a lens, a filter, a way to understand who deserves your trust and who doesn't. So, what does skin in the game mean? Skin in the game means that if you make a decision, you should also bear some of the consequences. If you benefit from upside but don't suffer from downside, your incentives are misaligned. For example, if imagine a banker who gives risky loans and earns a huge bonus if things go well. But if the loans fail, taxpayers bail him out. He doesn't have skin in the game. And contrast to that, a small business owner investing her own money into a new product, if it fails, she loses her savings, she feels that risk. That's skin in the game. So Nassim Taleb points out that many policymakers and financial experts make recommendations that affect millions, yet their personal risk is zero. The 2008 financial crisis was a perfect example. People at the top made risky bets, got rich, and the rest of society paid the price. So, let me tell you how it applies to our lives. Uh, let's bring it closer to home. Like, skin in the game isn't just about banks or government, it's about the choices we make every day. So, if you are starting a business or investing in something, you are literally putting your own money and time at risk. That's skin in the game. In your career, taking responsibility for a project rather than blaming others is another example. If the project succeeds, great. If it fails, you learn and grow because you were accountable. Even in relationships, giving advice or making promises without being willing to act on them or face consequences shows no skin in the game. So, the key lesson is simple: when your decisions affect others, make sure you are also affected. That alignment builds trust, fairness, and better results, whether in business, work, or life. So, risk should be shared. Risk should be proportional to responsibility. In other words, if you are in charge of others, you should also face the consequences of your decisions. Think about the 2008 financial crisis. Big banks made risky bets with other people's money. Executives earned huge bonuses when things went well. But when the market crashed, taxpayers bailed them out. They profited from upside but didn't feel the downside. That's exactly what Talib warns against. Compare that to the Amish, who are all a group of traditionalist Christian communities. In their communities, leaders don't live above the people they lead, they live like everyone else. But if a leader makes a bad decision that harms a community, they personally experience the consequences. For example, if a communal project fails or causes hardship, the leader suffers alongside everyone else. This creates balanced risk sharing. Accountability isn't optional, it's built into the system. So, how it applies to your life? At work, if you are leading a team, taking responsibility for failure as well as successes builds trust. A manager who blames the team but keeps the reward isn't sharing risk, they are just shifting it. In business, if you are failing in a venture, don't ask others to take risk you are not willing to take yourself. True alignment comes when everyone at the table has something real at stake. Even in personal life, even in friendships or relationships, the principle applies. Don't give advice or make promises you wouldn't follow yourself. That's another form of skin in the game. So here's the takeaway. Responsibility isn't real unless the consequences touches you personally. If the risk isn't shared, neither is the respect, trust or outcome. Ethical implications. Skin in the game isn't just about money, it's really about ethics. The principle is simple: if you're asking others to take risks, you better be willing to take some yourself. Nassim Talib tells a story of engineers designing bridges. If they cut corners to save money and the bridges collapses, they face serious consequences, sometimes even death. That's literally skin in the game. Think about doctors who perform surgeries. They have the training, experience, and responsibility. If they make careless decisions, patients suffer, and the doctor's career and reputation are also on the line. In startups, founders often invest their own money and time into their business. If the company fails, they lose personal savings, hours of effort, and reputation. That's real accountability. Contrast that with advisors or consultants who give advice without any personal risk. They may benefit if things go well, but nothing happens if it fails. How it applies to our lives. At work, if you manage a project or team, don't just delegate risk. Take ownership. Your reputation and responsibility matter as much as the outcome for your team. In business or investing, only give advice or make recommendations if you would act on them yourself. Don't offload risk onto others while enjoying the upside. In daily life, even in friendships or personal relationships, don't promise or push things on others that you wouldn't be willing to experience yourself. So, the lesson is ethics and responsibility go hand in hand with skin in the game. If you are not exposed to the consequences of your decisions, you are not truly accountable, and others shouldn't blindly follow your lead. Optionality and asymmetry. Another big idea from Talib is optionality. It's about making decisions where the upside can be big but the downside is limited, and importantly, where you are not unfairly putting others at risk. For example, imagine a person invests in a small business or a small amount in a startup. Worst case, they lose only that money. Best case, they make 10x or more. They have positive optionality, a chance for big gain without risking more than they can afford. Another example is a big fund manager. Imagine a manager at a huge investment fund who makes massive bets using other people's money. If it succeeds, they get a huge bonus. If it fails, the investors or the public lose money. The downside is externalized. That's negative asymmetry, benefiting from upside while offloading risk. So, in everyday life, trying a side hustle while keeping your day job, worst case, you lose a little money or time. Best case, it turns into a business that grows your income. Even choosing to experiment with healthy habits or a fitness challenge, worst case, you fail or learn slowly. Best case, you improve your health and energy. So, the lesson is simple. Look for choices where you can gain a lot but won't unfairly harm yourself or others if things go wrong. Avoid situations where someone else bears the risk of your decisions. Positive optionality isn't just smart, it's ethical. So take responsibility for your choices. Make decisions where you have something at stake and always check whether the people giving advice are actually exposed to the risks themselves. A startup founder invests their own money, time, and effort into a business. They have skin in the game. If it fails, they personally feel it. Contrast that with a consultant who advises on the business but won't lose anything if the advice fails. The founder bears the risk, the consultant doesn't. Think about influencers recommending products they don't use. They profit if people buy, but if it harms someone or doesn't work, they aren't affected. No skin in the game there. When you give advice to friends, only give it if you would follow it yourself. In your career, take ownership of projects rather than delegating risk while claiming credit. In relationships, don't make promises you wouldn't be willing to act on. Respect comes from having skin in the game. When your choices, actions, and advice put you at risk too, decisions become more thoughtful, fair, and trustworthy. That's a kind of mindset Talib wants us to adopt in work, business, and life. So ask yourself, in the decisions you make, do you have skin in the game? Are you ready to bear the cost of your choices? Or are you just offloading the risk onto someone else?